The movie starts with Lex Luthor soliloquizing about how Superman is treated like a god by the people of Metropolis and hopes that he will die someday. Lois Lane tries to pitch a story to Perry about Lex Luthor using a charity foundation to fund his weapon-building projects, but Perry rejects the story and says they do not have enough evidence to back up the writing. Lois accuses Perry of being on Lex's payroll, and Perry orders her to work on another story. Jimmy and Clark witness the argument. Lois comes out of Perry's office in anger and goes to her desk to arrange her files. Clark is packing his things in preparation of catching his flight to Afghanistan to cover a story there. Perry tells him not to be late and he goes to Lois to bid her farewell, but she greets him coldly. Lex's team is at a location digging a tunnel 2 miles below the surface to harness the energy of the Earth's core when they hit a spaceship. Lex's personal assistant goes to give him information about their latest discovery of a cure for cancer, but Lex tells her to tell the person in charge to slow down the treatment process so they can make more money from it. She also tells him about the team that hit a spaceship while digging. Superman fails to find a cure for cancer at his headquarters and is hugged by Lois Lane, who just got out of the shower. She asks him whether they can get a robot-free zone as Superman's robot assistant stares at them. Lex watches from his office on a screen as his team tries to get the spaceship out. They mistakenly puncture a hole in the spaceship with their laser, and a hologram of an alien appears, giving them a warning, but in an alien language. The hologram disappears and a creature comes out of the spaceship. It kills Lex's team and destroys the camera. Lex is shocked and says that for the alien to have disposed of the creatures on Earth, it means they couldn't kill it. He tells his personal assistant to make sure the operation of his team at the tunnel cannot be traced back to Lex's core. Superman and Lois Lane lie in robes on a bed, and Lois tells him that she feels that the closer she gets to Superman, the more Clark is distant. She tells him that she wants to know more about him, but Superman tells her that it is to keep her safe that he doesn't tell her all about himself. She says that regardless, she is in danger almost always and that he has been the one saving her, and nothing would change. They get into an argument that ends with Lois walking out on Superman. The creature from the tunnel goes on a killing spree. He kills a man living in the forest and a truck driver. He eventually finds his way into the metropolis. Superman and Lois settle their fight, but Superman's assistant robot comes to tell him about an emergency before they can talk extensively. They see the creature from the tunnel on a killing spree in the city, and Superman's robot tells him that it searched his father's archive and found an account of the creature. It says that it is the ultimate soldier, named Doomsday, and won't stop until it destroys all life forms on a planet, as it can't distinguish between friends and foes. Superman takes Lois to the rooftop of the Daily Planet, ignoring Lois's request to take her along, and then flies off to fight Doomsday. Lois calls Jimmy to meet her on the rooftop. Doomsday kills some soldiers and throws a tank at some others, but Superman catches it in time and throws it back at him. He freezes Doomsday with his freeze breath, but Doomsday breaks free. He then starts punching Doomsday. Lois and Jimmy fly a helicopter to the location of Doomsday and Superman's battle. Doomsday is keeping up with Superman, and soon enough he starts pounding him. Doomsday notices Lois and Jimmy's helicopter and jumps at it. He tries to attack them while hanging from the helicopter, but Superman flies at him and cuts the part of the helicopter Doomsday is hanging from with his heat vision, leaving him to fall through a 9-story building. Superman carries the helicopter to safety and takes Jimmy and Lois out. He tells Lois to leave as Doomsday jumps back up and charges at Superman. Doomsday and Superman fight through the subway and buildings, but Doomsday gets the upper hand and starts punching Superman until he starts coughing blood. The people are scared that Superman will die, and Lois cries, but she still insists that Jimmy keep recording. A kid starts crying close to Doomsday and Superman's battle, and Doomsday is going to attack the kid when Superman wraps Doomsday with his arms and flies him up out of the Earth's atmosphere and back. They hit the ground and caused a huge crater in the city. Doomsday dies and Superman comes out of the rubble. Lois rushes to his side as he falls. He asks whether everyone is all right, which Lois affirms, and then he dies. Martha Kent watches Superman die on the news. The whole world mourns Superman's death. and Lex appears at his burial with flowers. Jimmy is hired by Damon Swank, the CEO of National Voyeur, for the incredible pictures he took of Superman's fight with Doomsday. Perry tells Lois to take some time off, and she decides to go visit Martha Kent at Smallville. She tells Martha Kent that she knows Clark's secret, and together they mourn his death. The crime rate in Metropolis rises, and Perry warns Lois to be careful as there is no Superman to save her anymore. Lex confirms from his personal assistant that she has covered their tracks from the incident of Doomsday, and then kills her. Lois and the cameraman go to cover a story on Toyman abducting a school bus with children on the roof. Lois sneaks into the school but manages to sneak out all of the children except for one who is afraid. Toyman sees them and attacks them, and throws the bus down from the rooftop with Lois and the kid in it. Superman bursts out of his grave and catches the bus. He then destroys Toyman's robot ant and takes him over to the police. Everyone is surprised and happy that Superman is back. Superman takes Lois to her apartment and she kisses him. She asks him whether he's not happy to see her, as he's cold, but he gives her the excuse that he just got out of the grave and has to take care of something, then flies off. Superman goes to Lex's office but doesn't meet Lex in his seat. Lex calls him into a room and the door shuts. Red lights shine on Superman which weaken him, and Lex tells him that it is red sun radiation. He then beats him using gloves with kryptonite knuckle. After beating up Superman, he praises him for acting like the real Superman and goes out of the room. Lex heads over to where the real body of Superman is and boasts about how he has created a clone of Superman that will do his bidding. The people at the Daily Planet talk about Superman's return, while someone else is hired to do the clerk's job as he is thought to be dead in Afghanistan. Lois worries that the new Superman is fake. That night she goes to Jimmy, who is covering a story about a celebrity at a club, to ask for his help in investigating what is wrong with Superman, but he refuses, saying he loves his new life. Superman's body is stolen from Lex's corpse. Superman's assistant robot nurses him back to consciousness and says that he got a signal from Superman's body 17 days after his death, and got another that day, which he used to find his body. He says that Superman didn't die, but his pulse just slowed to a crawl. He also tells him that Lex stole his body, and that there is a new Superman in the city. Superman tries to get up, but he is weak. The robot advises him to rest until he is back to full health. Toyman escapes prison and ends up killing a kid before he's arrested again. The clone of Superman is angry and goes to the police. He takes Toyman, flies him up, and drops him on a cop's car, killing him. The media interviews clone Superman about his actions, but he tells them that he alone knows what is best for Metropolis. The people are now scared of Superman. The police try to bring him in, but he melts their gun with his heat vision. Lex gives the clone Superman a list of their rival companies to search for the body of Superman and tells him to do it discreetly, threatening him that he can kill him at any time. The clone Superman heads to a salon and uses a mirror and his heat vision to remove the kryptonite wrapped in lead implanted by Luthor in his brain. Lois goes to Lex's office and questions him about what he did to Superman, saying that she is about to leave the town, but just wants to know what he did to him. Lex figures that Lois and Superman were romantically involved and starts seducing Lois, then kissing her. Lois injects him and he passes out. She then calls Jimmy and they start searching the office for evidence. They find a room filled with clones of Superman and Lex comes in with a gun and threatens to kill them. The clone Superman arrives and melts the gun. Lex brings out a remote and presses it, hoping to kill the clone, but nothing happens. The clone Superman destroys all the clones in the room while Lex runs to his red room. Clone Superman tells Jimmy and Lois to leave. Clone Superman is at the entrance of the red room with red sun radiation light in the room. Lex gestures for him to come in, but Clone Superman shuts the door and lifts the whole room, then tosses it through some buildings and onto the road. The whole world starts to see Superman as a threat after he kills Lex, and the military is called to action. The military is scared to start a war with Superman, as they note that they are walking corpses if they do, but nonetheless asks him to surrender. Clone Superman starts destroying the tanks and fighter jets. Superman sees this from his headquarters and decides to join the battle. His assistant robot advises him not to, as he only has 67% of his strength, but Superman insists on joining the fight. He wears his black costume, and the robot gives him a kryptonite gun taken from Lex's archive. The real Superman flies into the battle and starts fighting the clone. He tries to shoot the clone with the kryptonite gun, but he slaps it off his hands. Lois and Jimmy see this and head over to take the gun. The clone is gaining the upper hand on Superman and advises him to stop fighting him and go to a new city. But Superman doesn't give up and keeps fighting him. Lois arrives and tries to shoot the clone with the gun, but misses. He destroys the gun, but the kryptonite-filled cartridge falls to the ground. Superman wrestles the clone, but the clone beats him and heads over to Superman's grave, lifts the statue of Superman's logo, and is about to throw it at Superman, when Superman uses his heat vision on the cartridge attached to his body, and it explodes into gas, which envelops the clone and the statue falls on him. The clone comes out of the rubble and tells Superman to protect the people before he dies. Lois asks Superman whether he is the real one, and he kisses her to prove it. The people come out to cheer Superman. At their apartment, Clark corrects Lois on the spelling of a word and talks about how he was the spelling bee champion of Smallville. Lois looks at him and runs to hug him, calling him by his real name, Clark. She tells him to visit Martha. Lex is shown recuperating in a hospital, soliloquizing about how it seems Superman can't be destroyed. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you like this video, please consider subscribing to our channel. I'll be back with another interesting movie recap. Until then, take care.